Welcome to episode 3 of the Beginner Guide series. Last episode we set some goals like clearing the nodes before Mars, which should have earned you some resources and maybe even a few blueprints. Also, if you have checked out the Nightwave and see the corrosive projection mod, definitely grab it as it is one of the most meta-aura mods in the game currently. I'm Tipsy and today we will be continuing our Beginner Guide series. Just like before, this episode is split into chapters, so feel free to jump around as needed, and in today's episode we will be covering the following topics as seen here. And since the last episode, a new update hit Warframe, improving parts of the early game experience. So before we dive in, let's head over some of the main changes that actually affect the area of the game we are in right now. With the new update 38.5, the tech rot in core, some improvement has been made to the early game experience. First, there has been a small node rework, streamlining missions on planets to make it easier to progress earlier in the game and make everything feel smoother. The Archwing Launcher segment is also now given for free upon completion of the Archwing quest. This means you will no longer need to farm an insane amount of Oxium just to get it for the open world missions. In chapter 3 we will quickly go over how to get all the resources needed to craft this Archwing segment so you can actually fly in the open world areas before continuing onwards. And a nice quality of life improvement that has been added to the modding section, which basically gives us a base capacity increase. So instead of having almost no capacity on new weapons at low levels, we now have a bit more to work with. On top of this, you will also receive a free stance mod from either the bow or the scanner to help you get started with early melee combat. And a big update, part of something we'll get to soon, is the Necromech. This has been one of the biggest hurdles for new players, as the Necromech was required to start a mission that you had to complete to basically progress in the game. Now you will be given a loaner Necromech, which helps a ton since you no longer need to farm one before starting the quest. However, if you still want your own Necromech permanently, you will still need to farm for it and craft it. And for people still looking to craft Rhino, Rhino's crafting time has been reduced from 72 hours down to 24 hours crafting time, which is pretty nice for early game frame, making it easier to actually get this frame so you don't have to wait 3 days basically. These are the most important changes affecting the part of the game we are currently in, but if you don't mind spoilers, I will leave a link down below to the patch notes so you can check out all of the changes this update has brought to the game. And once you reach Mastery Rank 3, you will gain access to something called the Syndicate station in your orbiter. Here you can pledge your alliance to Syndicates to basically start earning standing with them. However, you have to be aware that each Syndicate has allies and enemies. You will remain neutral with 2 Syndicates, meaning nothing changes with those. Then you will have one allied Syndicate which gains 50% of the standing you earn with your main Syndicate. This means your ally will passively rank up alongside your chosen Syndicate. On the other hand, you will also have an opposed Syndicate which loses 50% of the standing you gain, and an enemy Syndicate which loses 100% of the standing you gain. But you don't have to worry too much about your choice since you can always change it later on. Just keep that in mind that the lowest rank of an opposed Syndicate can go to -2, while the highest any Syndicate can reach is rank 5. Because of this, I recommend to either committing to a single Syndicate with an ally Syndicate, or maybe maintaining 3 or 4 if you're willing to juggle the standings carefully. For example, if you're pledged to the Steel Meridian, you will also rank up passively the Red Veil Syndicate. Since the Arbiters of Hexes and the Chapelon Suda start as neutral, you can then switch to Chapelon Suda for a while to rank up both the natural Syndicates and then go back once the Red Veil is low on standing. You can then switch back to the Steel Meridian by managing your Syndicate choices this way. You should be able to keep the Steel Meridian, the Arbiters of Hexes, the Chapelon Suda and the Red Veil at rank 5 at all times if you wanted to take this route. But you don't have to, this is just if you kind of wanted to min-max a little bit of the system. You can also just go with one Syndicate and that's all, and you don't have to think about anything ever again, but yeah, that's up to you. But why these Syndicates then? Each Syndicate offers different rewards and augment mods, so you definitely have to take a look at what each Syndicate actually offers before making your choice, but don't stress too much again, as you will be able to just change back and forth, or you could also trade to these mods, so you don't have to worry too much about your choice. Just look around and see what you feel like and then go with that. And the first time around you will have to check out the Syndicates either way, so visit the relay and click on the different Syndicates, and you will be able to use the gear wheel menu to look around the other Syndicates too, and then check out their offerings to see whatever Syndicate you want to go with. After that you will be able to go back to the Arbiter and then choose which Syndicate you will pledge your alliance to. For this guide we will be going with the Steel Meridian because I like the Hack Shotgun and I want to get the Scattered Justice mod, which gives us a 200% multi-shot. This mod makes the Hack pretty strong and enough to carry us all the way to Steel Path without any issues. And now, after you have pledged your alliance, 50% of any affinity we earn will also be converted into Syndicate standing. This means we will passively gain standing with the Syndicates we have chosen, while the others will lose standing. Our first goal is to slowly rank up our first 2 main Syndicates, aiming to get them to at least rank 4 and maybe 5. In our case, that will be the Steel Meridian and the Red Veil. And now for the Archwing Launcher. Since we have been giving this segment for free, we can start farming the resources needed to craft the Archwing Launcher, allowing us to fly in the open world areas, which will help us out a ton throughout this episode. When you log in, if you have completed the Archwing mission before the update, you should automatically receive this segment to install, otherwise you will get it upon completion of the Archwing mission we did in the last episode. Once you have installed this segment, you will see a new crafting recipe for the Archwing Launcher to craft. You will need to farm Iradite, Grukdrull and fish oil, all of which can be obtained in the plains of Eidolon. So let's get started. First we will have to head to Cetus or go directly into the plains of Eidolon, and we will begin by looking for Iradite and Grukdrull. And I recommend doing this in a solo squad so you don't have to worry about extraction and all of that and other players. But once inside the plains, I like to fast travel to Mount Nang, located at the top left side of the map, and head to the Grenier camp on top of the mountain here. This is a good spot to find Grukdrull, which spawns in small containers all around this area. Keep in mind that the enemies might be a little tough at this point in the game, so maybe try and avoid too much combat. Just run around and destroy the Grukdrull containers to be able to actually get your Grukdrull. Once you have cleared the top side, you can also head down into the cave area where you will be able to find even more Grukdrull. You will also be able to find small Iradite deposits around the cave sides, which look like little rocks with red crystals in them. Do a quick run throughout the area until you feel like you have cleared it. Once you're done, you can then fast travel back to the entrance and extract from the mission. Then you'll just have to repeat this until you have at least 50 Iradite and 50 Grukdrull. Iradite overall can also be found all over the plains, just laying in their small deposits, while the Grukdrull is pretty much just found in near encampments all over the plains. Personally, I just like to clear Mount Nang and reset once I'm done, so let's just do that a few times until we have the Iradite and Grukdrull we need. After a few runs, you should have the 50 of each resource and be ready to farm the fish oil. To do that, we need to head to the Fisher High Lock using the gear wheel menu and buy some fishing spears, as we will need to catch fish for the fish oil. And if you don't have enough standing to buy them yet, like I do, you will need to do a low level bounty at Khonsu to gain the standing required to purchase the fishing spears. Head to Khonsu and start a bounty. Completing the different stages of the bounty will reward you with standing, and once you're done, you should have enough to buy either all or at least 2 of the fishing spears. I recommend going ahead and getting all of the spears for now, as later in the series we'll cover how to quickly gain standing without doing any bounties, so don't worry about spending your standing for now. And if you have some extra standing, feel free to grab the Luminous dye, as this will help you greatly once you find a fishing spot, as this will light up the different fish so you actually be able to see it down in the water. Now just go to your arsenal and equip your fishing spear to one of your gear wheel slots. You only need to equip one of the fishing spears, as you can change them out once you actually equip the fishing spear in the open worlds. So now just head back out into the plains so you can actually begin fishing. I like to go down to the bottom left side where there's a little fishing spot down at the ocean, and then just take on your fishing spear and begin fishing. If you bought one of the Luminous dye, feel free to throw it down in the ocean here, and you will be able to spot the fish as they will be highlighted in a color. After a few minutes of fishing, you should have enough fish to cut them up at High Lock, the fishing merchant. Head back to her, cut up your fish, and make sure you have 30 fish oil to craft the Archwing Launcher. Once you have gathered the fish oil, head back into your orbiter and begin crafting the Archwing Launcher. This will take about 30 minutes, and once it's done, all you have to do is install it into your gear wheel menu, and with this you can now use the Archwing Launcher in any open world area to summon your Archwing and fly around. With the Archwing acquired, we are ready to adventure forward and begin the Heart of Deimos quest, which will guide us to the next open world area, Cambion Drift. So head to the Codex station to start the Heart of Deimos, the questline. As we make our way to Deimos, keep an eye out for Morphix, a resource we will need a few of, so it's a good idea to start collecting a few now as we head towards Deimos. And you might also run across some gallium deposits, so remember to grab those too while on Mars. And once you reach the war mission, you will have to face Lich Krill, a mini-boss with a specific mechanic to understand, as he is immune to most attacks until he swings his hammer, armor, which will curse a small spot on his back to become vulnerable. You will need to hit this spot around 4 times to be able to break his shield, and you will be able to start dealing damage to him afterwards that. So just keep running around him until he uses his ice strike, and you will be able to hit his vulnerable spot. Once you then break his shield, you can then attack him normally until he is defeated. And if you're aiming to farm the frame Excalibur, this is the place to do so. However, keep in mind that the drops are RNG based, so you might get lucky and get it in 3 runs, or it might take you 15 plus runs, depending on however lucky you get to getting all 3 parts. On the plus side, Grukdrull actually has a higher chance to drop gallium, so you will probably get a few gallium by farming this. Once you have collected all parts, all you need is the main blueprint, which costs 35,000 credits in the market. You also need plastids and neural sensors, which drop later in the game on Jupiter. Once you have Excalibur in your foundry, you don't have to worry about farming him again, so that is just nice to have him. With that, we can continue working towards Cambion Drift. As you do missions on Deimos, keep an eye out for Oracle cells, which can be dropped or found in deposits. You need a fair amount of them later on in the game, so it's worth picking them up as you see them. When you enter the Cambion Drift, a small cutscene will play. After that, you can continue forward. Since we already farmed the Archwing Launcher, we can actually use it to fly around in the Cambion Drift now. This will make the initial exploration much easier, and you will need to kill enemies near the hives to actually destroy them. Then once you enter the Necrolist, have a conversation before heading back out to find Father. Then continue the quest to unlock the entire family in the Necrolist. You will need to gather residue and do some fishing in Deimos using the spears we obtained in Cetus doing our Archwing chapter. As you progress through the quest, you will eventually reach a vault where you will have to input the correct combination. The combination is displayed from top to bottom, so just click the icons to match the 4 to open the door. After opening the vault, you will need to escape without getting killed by the necromags. You won't be able to sprint, so just spam the dodge roll to move faster and try to avoid the necromags. And once you get back, it is time for some revenge, as you will be piloting a necromag to fight back. And in the vault, if you spot any flying scientific resources, be sure to jump through them to collect them, as they are rare and valuable. Once back in the vault and fighting the necromag, remember to use your 4th ability, as it is incredibly powerful, turning you into a stationary tower with insane damage, so use it wisely to take down your enemies more efficiently. After the fight, you will wake up Grandmother, completing the Heart of Deimos quest. You will now have access to the Cambion Drift as an open world area. You will also receive the full Void Rig Necromag blueprint, which will allow you to craft a necromag. If you're looking for a guide to gather all the resources and craft a necromag, I will leave a video down below that goes over everything you need to know. Note that the enemies can be a bit tough for now. In later chapters, we will cover how to farm standing with each open world syndicate and maximize them with daily minimal effort. Now that the Cambion Drift is unlocked, we will gain access to the best early game Plastids farm in the game. We will dive into that in the next chapter. With the Cambion Drift unlocked, we now have access to one of the best early game Plastids farm, so let's go over how we can farm Plastids easily. First, you probably want to have the Archwing. It is not required, but it will make flying around much easier. So in the Cambion Drift, there's small yellow cysts that spawn around. By destroying these cysts, you have a chance of getting around 50 to 100 Plastids every time you destroy them. Since we don't have a crate clear build or a loot raider right now, we won't be taking the optimal route. Instead, we will just fly around and destroy the cyst where we come across them. If you want to see the optimal route, I got a video covering how to farm Plastids with the map and how it works if you have a crate clear build or loot raider. But for now, let's just fly around and destroy the cyst until we have some Plastids. And a good area to check out is the Albrecht's Prospect and the cave just around it, where you can still use your Archwing to fly around. Now just do a few runs and try to aim for around 1000 Plastids to start with. And with that, you should now know how to quickly farm some Plastids, as this is one of the earliest places in the game you can actually farm it. Now with Plastids in hand, we can actually begin crafting Rhino, but a quick recap if you didn't watch the last Rhino part. You can buy Rhino's main blueprint in the marketplace for credits, and to farm the parts for Rhino, you will need to do the mission Fossa on Venus, which drops the parts for Rhino, and you need one of each. Once you have all 3 parts, and now with the Plastids, and if you did the Excalibur farm from earlier, you should have the Gallium and the Morphosis to actually craft the Rhino. So now we can begin crafting Rhino. He also has a reduced crafting timer, so you will only need to wait 12 hours for the parts and 24 hours for the full set. And if you don't have enough credits, feel free to do some star chart farming or run the Malva survival mission on Venus for around 10 minutes, which should give you around 15 to 20k credits at this stage in the game. Then just start crafting your Rhino parts, and once done, begin the full Rhino crafting. With that, Rhino is on its way and should be ready soon. Alright, now that we have reached a point in the game where progression is mostly tied to exploring the star chart, we can start earning our daily standing with the Ostron and Solaris United Syndicate, which are the open world syndicates you will first be introduced to in Cetus and also in Fortuna, the first 2 planets you are actually discovering. To farm standing quickly without doing bounties, we will need something called the Trank Rifle from the business in Fortuna. If you don't have the 500 standing, just do a bounty in Fortuna. Completing 1 or 2 stages should be enough, as you will get standing with each stage, so even if you fail you will still earn some standing with the Solaris United. Now with your newly acquired Trank Rifle, equip it onto your gear wheel in the arsenal, so you can be able to equip it in open world missions. And with that we are ready to speed farm standing, and here's how it works. So first you will have to head into the open world area, then you will have to pull out your Archwing and then have the Trank Rifle equipped, and then aim down sight and you will be able to start hunting. And our goal is actually to get stealth catches, so we will have to catch the animals without actually alerting them. This means flying around in the Archwing, trying to hit the animal from further away with the Trank Rifle without getting noticed. Each successful catch will reward you with standing. Depending on how alerted the animal was when it was tranquilized, you will get a certain amount of standing from that. Which means stealth catches and without getting alerted will acquire you more standing than just catching it normally while it's alerted. So just fly around with the aim down sight and you will be able to see markers or maybe a little beeping, an indicator for where animals actually are. If you don't see any, just keep flying around until you spot some. And after some time we have hit the max standing with the Ostron Syndicate, as we only needed to be at 5,000 to be able to actually rank up. So to rank up we will have to talk to Khonsu in Cetus and select the Ostron standing option and rank up from there. You will need Grukdrull, Iradite, and also have to farm something called Nestle Pods, which are small yellow circular plants you can find all over the plains. So just fly around and find these resources and you should know where to find them in no time. But a quick recap, the Grukdrull can be found in Grenier encampments around the plains, while the Iradite can be found in caves all over the plains together with the Nestle Pods. So you'll just have to explore the plains of Eidolon and you should be able to find it. And now you can rank up with the Ostron Syndicate and you will also get a reward, where I would recommend you choose one of the permanent crafted resource blueprints. And on top of this you will also now be able to gather up to 22k standing with the Ostron Syndicate. Next up we will have to do the same for Solaris United, as this works the exact same way. However, to rank up with Solaris United you will need something called bonds, which can be a bit tedious to farm early on since we don't have a steady income of credits and resources to actually use the Tinker, where you can turn in resources and credits for bonds in the game. But you can also do the easy bounties until you have acquired at least 2 training bonds, and this will also help you cap out your standing. But once you have your bonds, all you have to do is gather all the standing you need, and then you will be able to rank up with the Solaris United. But afterwards I do recommend hunting, as this is just a faster way to actually gain standing with the Solaris United. And once you have gotten your training bonds but also have maxed out your standing with Solaris United, you will have to head to Edico, where you will be able to rank up to rank 1 with the Solaris United. For the reward I recommend choosing the Venero Alloy, as this is a nice blueprint and is also a permanent blueprint. And with that you have now begun your first open world syndicate grind. In the future we will need a lot of resources tied to these syndicates, so it's a good idea to max your daily standing with them. This way you can rank them up early on and you won't have to start from scratch when you reach later stages in the game. Also, this series is taking quite a lot of time and effort, so it would be greatly appreciated if you hit that like button, and if you want to see more you can also subscribe to be notified for the next videos. And at this stage in the game let's have a little look at our current loadout. I know these are a little bit silly right now as we don't have much to work with, but hopefully some people still find these useful. But with the new update, which gave us some extra base capacity, which should give us a bit more to work with even if our weapons aren't fully leveled yet. So if you want you can copy my current loadout, or you can try something for yourself, and once we get a steady income of credits and endo we will begin upgrading mods and actually work on a real build. First, my current primary weapon is the bolter, and these are the mods I have on it right now, and this is just while leveling it up to level 30, where I will change it out for a new weapon to be able to get all the mastery XP we can get. For my secondary weapon I have the Lato equipped with these mods, nothing too fancy for now as we are mostly just leveling up our weapons for mastery XP. And for the melee we are leveling the Fragor equipped with these mods as you see here, and I only have Vixorous Frost as I've been pretty unlucky with the spy missions and getting the Volcanic Edge. For my frame vault I have these mods here, but as I will need to upgrade quite a few of them we are currently lacking in the credits department, so that's on hold for now. But if you feel like you are taking a lot of damage or have a hard time surviving, I do recommend upgrading your health health and shield mods, as these will just overall help you survive better. And this is it for the current loadout. As we get further into the game, these build sections will be a little bit more in depth, as we will actually have some mods to work with and some levels to actually do something with. Right now we're just basically leveling weapons, so it is a bit silly, but yeah. So at this stage in the game you can go 3 different ways. First is to Jupiter, then you have Ceres, and lastly you have Phobos. Personally, there's Habit in the Void, which gives you an easy way to get live relics. These are important if we want to farm platinum early on in Fisher missions, but you will also need to kill the Sergeant on Phobos to gain access to the Ceres Junction. First, to access the Phobos Junction, you will need to clear some missions on Mars to unlock the Junction. For the Phobos Junction, we will also need to upgrade a relic and visit Maru's Bazaar on Mars. So first, let's go visit Maru's Bazaar, which is a place you can trade in Warframe. Once inside, talk to Maru and ask about the Iradite sculptures. Then just say not now, as this is a weekly mission where you're guaranteed to find the Iradite sculpture. But this isn't something we are going to focus on right now. However, if you are at a stage where you need endo and are willing to farm Iradite sculptures, you can do this mission once a week. Once you have talked to Maru, just head back out, and this is the first goal completed. Now you'll just have to refine a relic. As we went over Fisher missions in chapter 8 in episode 2, so if you don't have any void traces to refine a relic, just go to the Fisher tab and run some missions until you have at least 25 void traces to refine a relic. Then just go to the relic station in your orbiter and refine any relic you want. And with the relic refined, we can now head into Phobos Junction and defeat the Spectre. With that, we have access to Phobos and can now work our way towards the Void and the Sergeant on Iliad. So first, let's work our way towards defeating the Sergeant on Iliad. Depending on the route you take, you might encounter a spy mission. Since we are still early in the game, it is possible to just brute force some of these spy missions. As this is faster right now, so just run through everything and hack the vault at the end. And rather than doing it the correct way, as you can see in the background right now, I'm just brute forcing my way through the vaults. But later on in some spy missions this won't be possible, but once we get there we will cover how to handle those spy vaults. But here on Phobos it is pretty simple to just speed vault them, but you have to be able to hack, otherwise I recommend getting a cipher to auto hack so you don't have to bother with it. Now just head into the Iliad mission. This is also a boss mission as it is an assassination mission. But this one is pretty easy as there's no real mechanics other than the Surgeon can turn invisible at times, otherwise you can just blast him and then extract once he's killed. And if you want to farm the Warframe Mag, this is also the mission to do, as Mag drops from the Iliad mission. You can just farm this mission to get all of Mag's part. Since this is a fairly easy mission, it shouldn't take too long to get all her parts, so let's just do that quickly. And once you have all of Mag's part, you will just need to get her main blueprint in the market for 25,000 credits. But we can't craft her yet because we will actually need to reach Jupiter, as that is where the neural sensors drop. And now we know where we're heading, as Jupiter is also part of the main story and we need to get to Uranus for the next story mission to begin. And with that we can conclude the Phobos Junction chapter over. And before we reach the homework section, let's quickly run through the Jupiter Junction, as it should be easy to do since the only goal is completing the Heart of Deimos to unlock it. So let's clear the path towards the Junction and get ready to fight. Then head into the Junction fight, where you'll have to face the Valkyrie Spectre, and you don't want to get hit by her melees as they will kill you pretty quickly. So try to break her shields with your ranged weapon, and once the shields are down, go for a jump heavy attack on her and then run away again so you're not caught in her melee range. This is probably the first Spectre you might struggle a little bit with if you go full melee on her, but just use your ranged weapons and this shouldn't be no issue. With the Junction complete, we should get a small LRV introduction, and with that we now have access to Jupiter. And if you want to farm some neural sensors, the Demisto mission, where you actually have to fight LRV, is one of the better missions to farm the neural sensors in, as he has a higher chance to drop the neural sensors. And as we have covered quite a few things in today's episode, we can't end the episode just yet without giving you some homework for the next episode. So today we have gained access to quite a few planets and areas, so let's start by clearing a bit of the star chart, finish up nodes on Mars and Phobos, and head down to the assassination mission on Deimos, as we will clear this mission in the next episode to get Necros, our first farming frame. If you want to, feel free to begin clearing missions on Jupiter as well, but I won't count this as homework since we will start from Jupiter in the next episode. Also try to reach MR4 and buy the heck from the marketplace and begin crafting it, as this is one of the weapons we will be using as a star chart clearer. We also unlocked a way to grind standing with the Ostron and Solaris united, so try to max them out with your daily standing. And of course the homework from previous episodes still applies. If you have extra free time, feel free to clear all nodes before Mars, and if you can get the Viscerous Frost and Volcanic Edge mods from Earth's spy mission. Also, while ending the episode, I found the loot radar in the Nightwave. Definitely get one of these auras if you're actually looking to do a loot build at a later point, so you will be able to see all the loot crates around the map. And that should cover all the homework for the next episode. And that's it for the third episode in the beginner guide series. I hope you found it useful, and if you haven't watched the first few episodes, I highly recommend checking them out, as there's a few tips and tricks that could still be helpful even if you're already past this stage in the game. In the next episode we will continue our journey to Jupiter and the Void, and we will also try and get some neural sensors so it's possible to craft Mag and Excalibur, but we'll also have a look at getting our first loot frame, Necros, so be ready to grind even more Warframe. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, and if you want more Warframe tips, don't forget to like and subscribe for future content. Also check out my other videos for more guides and tips. We also do have a Discord server, so feel free to hop in there and become part of the community. Stay tuned, stay tipsy, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.